Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to Common English Mistakes. Don't just learn, improve. So today we're going to look at a very common mistake which I hear people make with infinitives, or more specifically, negative infinitives. It's easy to see why people make this mistake, even if they have a high level, and we're going to look at why that is. Also, we'll look at other situations where you might have to use a negative infinitive. So anyway, the mistake is up here. I don't eat fast food. So just pause the video, try to correct the sentence. And well done if you said either I try to not, but better, more natural, I try not to eat fast food. So early on, when you learn English, you learn to make negatives with main verbs using a do, does, did auxiliary. For example, I eat fast food, I don't eat fast food. And this is why I believe when students come to use infinitives, to infinitive or verb ing, gerunds, they want to do the same thing. However, to make the negative with each of these, it's much more simple. You just need to use not plus the appropriate structure. Now with to infinitive, there are two different ways to make the negative, not to infinitive and to not infinitive. The first one, I guess, is a bit more general. You're just avoiding doing something. Whereas the second structure, I'm going to try to not look at my phone tomorrow, a bit more specific and a bit more of an effort. People do use them interchangeably. However, keep it simple. The first structure, not to infinitive, a lot more common, sounds better, more natural. I would just use this one. This isn't the focus of the video, but while we're here, we might as well say again, a negative verb ing or gerund is just not plus verb ing. I like having nothing to do. I like not having anything to do. Again, don't use the auxiliary and say, I like don't having anything to do. So like I said, the one I hear a lot is try to don't. If you're going to take one thing from this video, try not to plus infinitive. I try to exercise a lot. I try not to eat fast food. So let's now look at some other situations where you might use not to infinitive. First one I would say is prohibition. Don't do that. People tell you to do things with the structure tell someone to do. For example, the teacher told the class to be quiet, but probably more often, teachers' parents tell you not to do things. For example, my parents told me not to play with electricity. In a city, you might see this sign and say to someone, that sign says not to park there. And flight attendants, pilots are always saying on flights, remember not to take off your seatbelt until the plane has stopped. The next area is decisions and intentions, because we decide to do things, but we choose not to do things. For example, I often decide not to go out on Friday night. You might choose not to go on holiday to save money. The only one to be careful of is with want. Here I would say want not to, sounds a bit funny, so you want to use the other one, want to not do something. Going back to phones, next year I want to not use my phone as much. The next area is advice, because you can advise someone to do something, but also advise them not to. For example, the doctor advised me to avoid salty foods. The doctor advised me not to eat salty food. A little bit more formal, would advise someone to. You might say, I would advise you not to mention that in the meeting. If it's more serious advice, you can use the structure had better infinitive. So, if you injure your leg very badly, your friend might say, you had better go to hospital, get an x-ray. Negative, had better not infinitive. You had better not walk on it. Then moving on, if you have bad neighbors, you might make requests to them, but usually they're going to be negatives. Don't do that, please. So, could you not make so much noise at night? Can you not leave the rubbish outside? A little bit more formal and polite is the structure, can I ask you to? The negative, can I ask you not to? So, can I ask you to leave my computer on in the office? Can I ask you not to turn off my computer? And then also we use to infinitive after adjectives. So, same thing, adjective not to. It's important to be on time. It's important not to be late. Going back to our phones, I want to use my phone less, but it's difficult not to have a phone these days. There's also this useful phrase to remind people, be or make sure to. Negative, be make sure not to. So, make sure to remember your charger when you leave a hotel. Make sure not to forget your charger when you leave a hotel. I'm always doing that one. There is, however, one situation where I wouldn't use not to infinitive. And that's when we're using to infinitive to talk about purpose of an action. For example, I woke up early to get to the office on time. I wouldn't say I woke up early not to be late. Instead, either you can use in order not to or so as not to. I woke up early so as not to be late, but they're quite formal. If you want to just say something normal, just use a normal clause with something like, so I wouldn't be late. Anyway, that's basically it for today. If that was useful and you've learned something and you're not going to make this mistake in future, do make sure to like and subscribe. Lots more stuff like this coming out in the next few weeks. But anyway, we're just going to go back now to highlight the focus of today's lesson, the structure try not to plus infinitive with today's question. What do you try not to do in life? Do write your answers in the comments, guys. It's a great opportunity to practice something which people make mistakes with all the time. Look forward to hearing your responses. But anyway, other than that, I'll see you for another video in the next couple of days. So until next time, see ya.